neither Warren nor Charlie are typical. Did they have problems that were similar? Yes, but Warren and Charlie had the owner's attitude from day one and took a deep, deep interest in any problem. They did their own homework. They didn't believe in consultants. They didn't believe in figuring out compensation for the managers with a compensation consultant. They operated independent of Wall Street. So they were very different than most other clients, I would say. And the fact that they owned the problem, they each had a deep understanding of every problem I got into. Maybe the first one that was significant was when they acquired the Buffalo Evening News. And within a few days thereafter, the competitive newspaper, the Courier Express, filed an antitrust case with a rather loudmouth plaintiff's attorney from San Francisco that I knew well and had a lot of fun with, actually, Fred Firth. And so I spent a good part of that winter on that case. And Warren, of course, was deeply interested in it, as was Charlie. He claimed that the process that was being used by, really Warren developed, to introduce the Buffalo Evening News as a competitive morning paper as opposed to an afternoon paper was monopolization. Judge Briand in the trial court wrote a lengthy opinion against us and basically made the point that Berkshire had not complied with the rules of Marquis and Queensberry. And Henry Friendly, in his opinion, said, I've searched the antitrust laws up and down, and I couldn't find that rule of the Marquis of Queensberry. But at any rate, Warren and I got to know each other, then of course many others since. I would say that we were in the trenches the longest in the Solomon problem, and thereafter, you build a relationship that always goes beyond the problem.
Ron, talk to us about risk. I mean, risk is at the center of investment decisions. And it's also an important part of what a lawyer does, is assess risk and apprise clients of that risk. How does Warren Buffett approach risk in your experiences as a lawyer?
Well, carefully. And he approaches it also often with Charlie. I mean, they would talk regularly, and particularly if you're talking about risk associated with an investment, that was a regular occurrence. And each of them approach that, I think, somewhat differently. They have a different set of priorities, a different set of readings, a different set of life experiences. Warren is, as you know, very gregarious, out front. He's the one who cuts the deals. Charlie's still sitting in his chair, as his kids say. He looks like a book with two legs, reading every day. The two of them had this unique partnership. And it's another reason I don't have a lot of clients with a unique partnership like that. There's complete trust. There was a grounding in, I would say, Midwestern values. Warren had, and Charlie too, both had big developed accounting capabilities. They both read all the financials, knew them well, but they didn't buy companies without an established record of consistent profits for 5 years or more, a leadership that they trusted with, that had integrity and had run the companies that they were about to acquire. And one question Warren always asked was, is this person going to love the money more than he loves the business? Because Berkshire is about to make them very rich. And if they did, it wasn't a deal. If they loved the business more, that's who we want. And so it was a combination of risk assessment, but as I say, I think Charlie added a perspective that and he was guided. He read every great psychologist and knew all the biases that exist in judgment, and the enthusiasm of deal was more evident in Warren, but confirmation bias was something Charlie guarded against in everything he did, and those are some of the thoughts.
Having watched this partnership for over 50 years, as you say, from a pretty close distance, actually, what caused it to sustain?
Just to be clear, Charlie joined the board in 1975, but the partnership of the two of them, informal and then later very much a part of Berkshire Hathaway, existed, yes.
So that partnership, what sustained it? Because we have seen other partnerships that are based on mutual trust and different contributions of the two partners, and that have been close partnerships, but they don't tend to last for over 50 years.
Well, I would say a couple of things. I mentioned the common backgrounds. They both had IQs that are off the chart. They both respected that. They both had memories that exceeded mine, and they respected that. They both were interested in building a company that would have permanence and committed themselves to it, particularly when Warren went along with Charlie finally and moved from buying what were referred to as cigarette companies with a few puffs left at a cheap price, and Charlie convinced them that it's far better for permanence to buy wonderful companies at a fair price than fair companies at a wonderful price. And they were dedicated to that. They were, and as Warren said in his tribute to Charlie in the annual letter, he let him take the bows, and he also noted in the letter that after he had blundered and made a mistake on something, Charlie never reminded him of it. And that Charlie was to Warren very much like the combination of a brother and a father.
You talk about permanence and the fact that Warren and Charlie wanted something that was permanent. Unfortunately, in human institutions, nothing's permanent. We've lost Charlie Munger, sadly. Warren has no inclination, it appears, of going anywhere. At the same time, there will come a time when he's no longer with us. Have they succeeded, you think, in setting up something that can be permanent, that can outlast even Warren Buffett?
That's not only the idea, but I am confident that that's what has been built by the two of them. And the board understands that its ongoing obligation post-Warren, and let's not get ahead of ourselves, he's not going anywhere soon. I had a wonderful conversation with him yesterday morning, and the enthusiasm, the thinking is still there just like it always was. But I would say that the board has done a very good job in helping to maintain the post-Warren permanence by having Greg Abel as a designated successor. Greg is admired by the board. He's admired by Warren. He understands the history of the company and the idea of permanence. He is a fabulous thinker. His judgment is superb. He is strategic. He is decisive. And Warren is working with him regularly these days on all the companies. And I think we're, in terms of protecting the culture, making sure that Greg is the successor if anything happens to Warren, the board's off to a good start. But every board member understands the most important thing we can do to sustain this company is not let that culture slip away.